हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी, गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन, यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन। यमुनतीरावनचारी, यमुनतीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन, यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन। यमुनतीरावनचारी, यमुनतीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसे भक्त वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद् ज्वाइन भक्त सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। All Gurus assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All Gurus assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All Gurus assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All Gurus, all Gurus, all Gurus to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Very happy to be in the midst of all the wonderful association of Vaishnavas here at Bangalore, South Bangalore, ICC, ICC Temple. Hare Krishna. Such wherever there is a culture of hearing, devotees can get a wonderful opportunity to flourish. And hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or topics connected to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, that is something which is meant to give portion or nourishment. Like the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about portion, giving nourishment to spirit, nourishment to a devotee. Just like how seventh canto is talking about protection, sixth canto talks about nourishment, portion. So instead of a regular verse or something, I was asked to speak on this topic of association, key for spiritual survival. How association can be a key for spiritual survival. So we'll try to see this in a bit of subtopics. First, I'll discuss a little bit on do we find some repetition in Nectar of Instruction, which is Upadeshamrit, Rupa Goswami's very beautiful work. Then we'll discuss on impact of association, bad association, no association, and good association. Impact of that. Then we'll discuss on what it actually means to associate. We hear so much sadhu sangha or bhakta sangha. What it actually means to associate, and then we'll discuss on benefits of genuine association. What are the actual benefits of how we can benefit by the if it is a genuine association, and finally we'll discuss on practical tips for survival in devotee association. Practical tips for survival in devotee association. So beautiful topic, association, which is in one sense we can say uh, inspirational, influential right from the beginning of one's devotional journey, right? Some devotees come when they receive Srila Prabhupada books. Some devotees just happen to see the temple around, and they hear some wonderful kirtans. They see some devotees and just come in. And quite a majority of them require an intervention of a devotee to be able to have a little development of Shraddha, mm, to get a little bit conviction in the process of devotional service. So, generally, devotees play a very key role in our lives right from the beginning of our spiritual lives. That's why in the nine processes of devotional service, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, beginning with that. So, it's all a development of faith. The whole process is a development of faith, which is finally going to be fructified in prem. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, and so on. But starting with Shraddha, when somebody has an initial Shraddha, then that Shraddha, the next stage it leads to is Sadhu Sangha, hmm, wants to associate with the devotees. And the immediate step of that, once you associate with the devotee, the first step is Bhajana Kriya, which is follow some rules and regulations. You see, this is again a genius of Srila Prabhupada, because otherwise, outside, people in general follow some kind of a pious life, some kind of a, they call as religious, they feel they are spiritual. But actually, it is a little bit of piety, a little bit of religiosity. Sometimes you see in politicians, during election time or something, they'll just go to the temple, break one coconut, and then it'll be a big newspaper advertisement. Mm, Great influence, and people will feel he's suddenly turned spiritual. Mm, that's not our understanding of spiritual. If somebody, for an ISKCON devotee, if somebody says, "I come regularly for Janmashtami," uh, what would that mean to us? He comes once in a blue moon. For us, association means, what to speak of once a year. Even once a week, we feel it is less. If it is possible, come daily. Once a week, you're a good devotee, but you can become better if you come. Every day also. It's like that. But somebody saying once a year, he'll say, "What is this? This is like, what are you getting? What is your input?" That means what? Association we are talking about is input, primarily in our initial years, formative years of Krishna consciousness. Because how much input we receive from devotees and how much more input we receive from the bombardment which happens in the outside world, isn't it? What is the ratio of it? Sometimes people complain that devotees, everywhere there are devotees, especially in the month of book distribution, isn't it? You you go to the railway station, there are devotees. If somebody goes to the airport, there are devotees. Somebody goes to the hospital, there are devotees. Somebody goes to a restaurant, sometimes they'll find, on the streets devotees are there, and sometimes people feel, how will I get rid of devotees? It's Krishna's arrangement. You know, it's Krishna's arrangement how he ensures devotees are very well protected. And for outsiders who feel sometimes disturbed, oh, you just see everywhere, why don't you restrict yourself in the temple? If we want, we will come. Why are you coming out and trying to influence us? You see, not only devotees, even the Lord comes out. Or Lord Jagannath, he says, Kali Yuga, this will not work. If I wait for the conditioned souls to come all the way to the temple and receive my blessings, this is not going to work. I have to come out of the temple, which is when the doctor feels the patient is too sick, the doctor also comes out. And following in the footsteps as devotees, we also do our part, a little bit of part in terms of preaching, in terms of distributing books, in terms of giving Krishna consciousness, whether it's in the form of Harinam Sankirtan, giving the mercy of Krishna and his associates. We do try to do our part. But please understand, Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavatam that the illusory energy has a very systematic propaganda. Illusory energy has a very systematic propaganda. So you see so many billboards, advertisements. You're just passing on the street. Why do you find so many billboards, advertisements? Is it not their propaganda? But when devotees preach, why are you trying to influence us? Which soap people buy, which toothbrush people buy, they are influenced. But what lifestyle they should adopt, they feel, I'll think on my own. For simple things, they are getting influenced by which sports star or a film star makes the brand of advertisement or a trend. But when it comes to the lifestyle, then person feels, I will choose on my own. I don't want somebody to intervene. That's why Prabhupada explains that just like Maya has a systematic propaganda. hmm, it is something like you're watching we're not supposed to. If you're watching a movie, you're watching uh, a serial. In the earlier days, in between the serial, it's like half an hour serial, and one advertisement would come after 15 minutes, isn't it? Now the serial has shortened. Instead of 30 minutes, the serial also becomes 20 minutes, episodes or web series or whatever you call. And within that, how many advertisements we'll get? At least there'll be four interruptions within that. Sometimes it becomes more advertisement. It looks as if the serial is coming in between the advertisements. That's Maya's propagation, systematic propaganda, which is why it Prabhupada says that even as devotees, we also have to ensure systematically we propagate the holy names around. Otherwise, by default, if we expect a conditioned soul to take to devotional service, which lifetime it will happen, we'll never know. Because everyone requires a little gentle push. A little gentle push. The word gentle is important. Sometimes we stress more on push, but it will be gentlemanly if we stress on gentle. Push is required, but if it is gentle, then the person feels welcomed, then the person feels acceptable. Which is why the association plays a very key role, very major role in not even in the formative years. It's something which is crucial, and that's why it is said association. It's just like a learning curve. Learning curve is supposed to stop at which age? Age. Learning curve is never supposed to stop. Initial in our journey, first 2 years, oh, I have to study this, I have to study that, I have to get so much information. After that, we feel I know it because we have heard it once. We feel we are Shrutidhars and we know it, and then the learning curve immediately stops or dwindles, and then we feel once in a while. Mm, Once in a while, if we get some tips, it is fine. So the learning curve is never supposed to stop. That is what will keep one's enthusiasm going on. In a similar way, association is there is, if we say when should association stop? Okay, I needed association when I was young, but in our middle age, in our when we become senior, can we do we not need association? Association is something similar to the learning curve. It is never supposed to stop. Which is, in fact, the Bhagavatam explains at every point of time we need to have a senior association, an equal association, and a junior association, which makes a person's life very holistic. There is something that we receive, something that we share, and something that we give out of concern or out of compassion. So that makes a person very, very holistic. In the initial years, we receive a lot, and at a later stage, we accept a lot of responsibility in terms of sharing and in terms of giving. So that will keep the devotee also extremely balanced. That one is received and one is sharing, one is also in a giving mode. So talking about our first subtopic, which is it appears as a repetition in nectar of instruction, which is Upadeshamrit. Now, Upadeshamrit is a very, very eloquent work of Srila Rupa Goswami. Extremely, it's like you can say uh, that truths, concise truths. What is that? Eloquence. Truth spoken concisely. Just 11 verses, and it takes a person from from a conditioned stage towards Krishna Prem. Even out of the 11, we read usually only 8. 8 is sufficient for us. Beyond that is it goes a little bouncer, and or it's not digestible in the initial years of our Krishna consciousness. Just that 8 is sufficient for us. And even that 8, sometimes people shudder looking at the first verse itself. Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Uttara Upasta Vegam. Then Etan, Yo Vishaheta Dira, Prithvim cha Sishya. What is that? Sarvam Avimam, Prithvim cha Sishya. This is how you can become a guru. First verse, we can see how it is, how Rupa Goswami is eloquently giving it 8 verses, nectar of instructions. Upadesh Amrit. And in that, and of course, the conditioned soul sometimes takes pride in finding a fault in a great person. Sometimes conditioned soul thinks, if I find fault in a great person, that means I am great. I am able to find fault in a great person. Well, in Kali Yuga, Kalir Dosha, Nidhe Rajan. It's an ocean of fault. It's nothing great if you're able to find some fault. It's something great if you're able to find something good, because fault is everywhere. If we are able to find good, it means we are focusing. It means we are fine tuning. It means we are not simply seeing out of charma chakshu. That is why scriptures talk about shastra chakshu. By that you get some understanding of how to see. Otherwise, what we see by default, it's like a new person entering Vrindavan Dham, at least in the olden days. Now it's a little more commercialized or things. But in the olden days, it would be like you'll find sewage flowing, you'll find boars, pigs, you'll find monkeys, and person will feel, I thought I was going to come to a holy place. And when he sees all that, he feels looks like it's no more holy, or it's so polluted, because we are seeing just from charma chakshu, we're just seeing from the ordinary eyes. We need to see from the eyes of the scriptures. We need to get a little more enlightened to know how to see, how to refine our seeing. So what is the big greatness if we are able to find some faults? So we are talking about, is it a fault of repetition in nectar of instruction? The topic that we are talking about, association. In the second verse of nectar of instruction, Upadeshamrit, where Rupa Goswami shares, Atyahara, Prayasascha, Prajalpa, Niyamagraha, Janasangascha, Laulyamcha, Shadbir Bhakti, Vinashyati. The fifth one is Janasanga. So there he is saying, if we associate with worldly minded people. Now Janasanga also has various categories. A gross one is grossly materialistic. Grossly materialistic people, part of the Janasanga. Apart from that, of course, then we can have people who are impersonalists. We can have people who are Mayavadi. There's so many different categories of people are there. But broadly, or in one sense, we can say grossly, it's like the materialistic people. So Jana Sangha, if one associates with worldly minded people, mm, then one's devotional service, there is a potential or a tendency to go down. Vinashyati. Shadbir Bhakti vinashyati. Whereas in the third verse of Nectar of Instruction, again he says, Utsahan, Nischayat, Dhairyat, Tat Tat, Karma Pravartanat, Sangatyaga. Again, fifth, Sangatyagat Sato Vritte, Shadbir Bhakti, Prasiddhyati. These are the six important things by which one's devotional service will be uplifted. It will go up. Again, the fifth one is Sangatyagat. In the second verse, he was mentioning Jana Sangha. If you associate with worldly minded people. That's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Asat Sangatyag, Ei Vaishnavachar. So in the third verse, he's telling Sangatyagat. Second verse is Jana Sangha, which is if you associate with worldly minded people. Whereas in the third verse, he's saying, if you simply refrain. You see the difference here. One is if you associate, you go down with the worldly minded people. Next verse, he's saying, simply refrain. Positive is still yet remaining. Positive is still yet remaining. Simply refrain. Sanga tyagat. Shadbir bhakti prasiddhyati. And then that's how next verse, dadadi pratagrinati, in terms of how to associate. Simply refraining from association. So this too appears to be, how can, I mean, in both, one is going down, one is going up. But both are talking about Jana Sangha, talking about Sangha, association. So it's not a fault of repetition. It's a genius of the acharyas and the Goswamis, how they are explaining the scriptures in a very, very practical manner. In fact, that means it's like a knife. It depends on whose hands, who owns the knife or who is using the knife. That is how it can be in the hands of a surgeon, or it can be in the hands of a criminal. Similarly, association. Whom are we associating with? Whom are we refraining association from? And how to actually associate with those who are practicing devotional service. So very, very beautifully, crystal clear explains. So I'll just read a beautiful statement Prabhupada makes in that Nectar of Instruction, that verse 2 and 3. He says, Prabhupada says, we have established ISKCON to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. We have established ISKCON to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. So, whom is he talking about? Devotees who are in ISKCON. Devotees who are in ISKCON. That means he is saying, Prabhupada is saying, if a new person comes to the temple, he will get a chance to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. So, of course, we may say we are still in the process, but at least that is what is the standard. That is what is the standard. Obviously, a pure devotee will be very much having perfected his life, but that is what is the expectation. That a devotee in ISKCON means, that's why Prabhupada, even like when devotees greet each other, Hare Krishna, isn't it? Isn't it a new sort of thing which Srila Prabhupada started? Earlier, somebody would say Jai Shri Ram and so many things, but in ISKCON, Hare Krishna, we greet each other as Hare Krishna, right? So there are so many ways by which we have to remind ourselves of Krishna. That is why ISKCON is, the whole institution is existing, to remind us of Krishna. And we can be reminded by services, by Navavidha Bhakti, by engagement in kirtans, by cooking, by making garlands for the Lord, so many ways. Somehow or other engage our body and mind and senses in the service of the Lord. And the end result should be remembrance of Krishna. And that association, when it is given to people, they will really benefit a lot. Another beautiful statement which Prabhupada makes, when by good fortune one comes in contact with a pure devotee, is a beautiful statement. When by good fortune one comes in contact with a pure devotee, this itself is good, that is just a contact. But if somebody wants to progress, the contact is not sufficient, isn't it? When by good fortune one comes in contact with a pure devotee and hears from him patiently. Prabhupada, that's the word. Hears from him patiently. Hears from him patiently. What will one do? One begins to follow the path of devotional service. One is by good fortune, one is coming in contact with a pure devotee. Second, hear from him patiently. After hearing, then one understands I have to follow some rules and regulations, follow some path, hmm, follow the path of devotional service. And Prabhupada says, such an opportunity is offered to one who is sincere. There are so many guests, visitors who may be coming, but somebody is sincere, then he will want to get a contact, he will want to sit and hear, and he will want to follow the path. Roji, how can I become like you? Or how can I become a member? People ask, right? They think it's a life member, but our expectation a little more higher. We are more interested in their life in a good sense, not to exploit, in a good sense, to benefit them. But initially they are not aware of it, right? So Prabhupada says such an opportunity is offered to one who is sincere. And since ISKCON is giving such a chance to humanity at large. ISKCON is giving such a chance to humanity at large. This is what we are supposed to do. Prabhupada very clearly in Nectar of Instruction, second and third verse talks about this. Next, we'll discuss about impact of association. What does it do? Bad association. We'll start with bad association. Then there is no association. There are people who choose no association also. Hare Krishna. And then impact of good association. In terms of impact of bad association, of course, Prabhupada tells a beautiful, I don't know what we can call it, anecdote or something. A man ate gulab jamuns, and ISKCON, it's quite famous. It's known as ISKCON bullets. He ate some gulab jamuns, and the next day, naturally, a person has to answer the nature's call. And at that time, this is not a Shastric story. This Prabhupada explains. So the next day, when the person answers to the nature's call, the stool speaks to the man, saying, yesterday I was a beautiful, round, brownish, soaking in rasa gulab jamun. Just yesterday. And one night's association with you. This is what I have become. Association impacts, and especially human association. That's why sometimes saints would prefer to live in forests because they feel it's easier to associate with animals. Because generally, animals do not break nature's laws. Animals, you will never find a tiger eating a grass. आज भूख लगा है किसी ने मधुकरी दिया नहीं. You'll never find a tiger. It'll go hungry. Animals don't break nature's laws, but humans are expert at it. So that's why sometimes saints would prefer, it's easy to deal with animals, but humans are, and especially the psychology of humans, dealings with different varieties of people, isko ye bola to usko bura lag gaya, isko nahi bola to bura lag gaya, so many factors and so many different parameters, how to deal with humans. That is the fact. Anyways, Prabhupada also, of course, there's another story which just tell in short, which is maybe we must have heard also earlier, like the story of the two parrots were once. This is basically even to test the association, what happens by the impact of association. So one parrot was given to a hunter, and another parrot was given to a king. And it's like sometimes scientists also do research in the with the rats or things like that. So one is with the king and one is with the hunter, and depending on whom the parrot is associating with, those are the qualities that they are catching. So when the parrot is associating with the hunter, all that he will hear is, maro kato. That's the gross language that he'll be hearing. And if he's with a king, whatever gentlemanly his association is there, he's offering that. So just to tell in short, depending on who we associate with, we develop those qualities. That's why it is said, you are whom we associate with, or you become what you associate with or whom we associate with. Like that's why it is said, sometimes tell me your friends and I'll tell all about yourself. Tell me who your friends are. So from that we'll get a pulse. Oh, what is your kitne pani mein ho? No, all that. Association plays a very, very key role. So if we talk about negative association or bad association, there is no dearth of it in the age of Kali Yuga. Very, very freely available. In the earlier days, when we hear about Ajamil, he had to go to the forest. He had to, and he didn't even intend that. He had to go to the forest. He had gone to pluck flowers only to offer to Shri Radha Vinod. He had gone to offer. He had gone to pluck flowers, and in that he was distracted. Today we don't have to make any efforts. We don't have to go out of our house also. Everybody knows what is there with us. So many ways, so many different options and things are available. But typically, the phase in which one usually uh, is very vulnerable is typically the teenage. In the young age before that, usually a child is quite obedient to the parents. Usually, exceptions may be there. And because they are quite dependent on parents, whether it's for food, whether it's for money, whether it's staying, all that, they're just being taken care of the parents, and they are quite happy and sheltered by the parents, so they're naturally, it's a good behavior. But teenage is a time when a little bit of, vulnerability starts, a little bit of independent mindedness starts, a little bit, a sense of freedom, is the thought lingers. And then there are so many opposing views. Parents are saying something, teachers are saying something, but my friends are saying something totally different. It depends on their association and all that. That's such age where it's a little bit of vulnerability. Again, after that, once a person gets married, then it gets a little bit sort of, settled again. So we have to be very conscious, especially youngsters, especially in the college years or, teenage years. It's One is prone to potentially be extremely vulnerable. So one has to be conscious in those formative years, because the friends would simply say, it's cool. How can somebody believe it is cool? It's fire. You know? It's fire, but they are saying it is cool. And people believe it. Can we believe it? But the age is so vulnerable. So people get into it. And unfortunately, once a person gets into it, to get out of it, it'll require a lot of, extremely lot of tapasyas. It's like gaining weight. How easy it is? Simply honor prasadam. If you want to, if you have a thought of shedding it, we know. I think prasadam is good. Prasadam is transcendental. We are okay. How much effort is required to reduce the weight and how easy it is to gain it. Similarly, bad habits. Easy to get in, difficult to get out. It's like our cozy beds. Easy to get in or out. In. Difficult to get out. That's bad association can be extremely vulnerable. And of course, scriptures talk about this Nalakuver Manigriva, which is they were actually sons of Kuver. So it's like a big parentage, it's like affluent, like Ambani's son, like that. A huge mansion and things like that, palatial, got into bad association. Our scriptures give a beautiful example of uh, Bhauma. Bhauma is a son of Bhumi Devi. Bhumi with Lord Varaha. Varaha Deva associating with Mother Earth, Bhumi. But this, but he was known as Bhauma Sur. Bhauma Sur, Asur. He's son of the Lord, son of Mother Earth, but he's called Bhauma Sur. Why is he called Asur? Because he stole the earrings of Mother Aditi. He stole the umbrella of Varuna. Is this sufficient to call him a demon? Don't think. He stole. Okay, he's a thief. He occupied Meru Parvat, a portion of Meru Parvat. It's like our POK, occupied a portion. You know. Can we call him demon still? Maybe in the modern context, terrorist. Maybe. Now earlier was just a criminal. Now he's getting into terrorist. And then he ended up kidnapping 16,000 princes who were eventually getting married to Lord Krishna, his father. He had kidnapped 16,000 princes. How is this happening? Or how did he end up going through this? It is described he was an ally of Kamsa. Kamsa had various agents, Putana, Aga, Baka, आगे वो सुर आता है वो सब all that same names. All these were his associates. And Bhauma also was an ally of Kamsa. More impactful than that was he was having close association with Banasur, which is why he's actually called Bhaumasur, because he was associating with Banasur. Banasur happens to be son of Bali Maharaj, coming in demoniac lineage. So Bhauma, although he's son of the Lord, he's associating with Banasur, who is coming in the demoniac family. And look at the impact. His name itself is changed to Asur. And of course, activities also were. Literally, Krishna had to fight with him. He had to take Satyabhama along with him to get approval also, before shooting. But Krishna did that. But his name also becomes Asur, Bhaumasur. Even today, he is known as Bhaumasur. In fact, we celebrate Diwali, which is Narak Chaturdashi, Narakasur, Bhaumasur, in celebration of that. So, son of the Lord, but associating with someone in the demoniac lineage, look at the impact. So we may say, okay, this is we are very well aware of in terms of devotee devotee audience. What about, okay, we are understanding that we are trying to get out of that. Then there are some who want to be a little neutral, because association itself is problematic. Negative is bad, understandable, but some people refrain even from associating. And Prabhupada would say that it's a hallucination to practice Krishna consciousness in isolation, to practice Krishna consciousness alone. It's in this day and age, it's like there are people sometimes, even within devotional service. Now we can talk a little more from devotees' perspective. Even within devotional service, there are people who sometimes uh, get swayed by different isms, by different trends, by different traits. Sometimes we hear 99% of our spiritual life depends on chanting. That's it. No. Why only 2 hours? Why should we restrict our life only to daily only chanting 2 hours? Let us chant 99% of the time. People can get swayed away. People would feel 16 rounds Srila Prabhupada told for having based on compassion for the Westerners. We are at least born in India. We should chant at least 64 rounds. Nobody is able to say that confidently. Initially, Prabhupada said 64. Then the devoted disciples were saying, Prabhupada. They said, okay, 32. Prabhupada, 16. Nothing doing less. No, nothing more, or nothing, no further reduction in that. But anyways, so sometimes person, these are like, these are called as PDS. These are like pure devotee syndromes. Sometimes in 6 months we feel we are like Dhruva Maharaj. Lord Vishnu is just about to arrive. You know, we get that feeling in our initial years of Krishna consciousness, and then we understand. It's a very elongated road. It's a long way. It's a marathon. Initially, we feel it's just it's just round the corner. So, in the initial years, we might feel that why just follow these scriptures? Actually, if scriptures, if you say there'll be so many quotes which are very appealing. That's the beauty of devotion service. Another part, whatever one is convinced with, if you read the scriptures, you will get dozens of quotes for it. If you want to talk about book distribution, you'll get dozens of quotes. If you want to talk about Kirtan, Sankirtan, that is Yoga Dharma, you'll get dozens of quotes. If you want to talk about association, you'll get dozens of quotes. If you want to talk about preaching, everything will get dozens of quotes in the scriptures. Depending on what we are inclined with, we have to. But it requires a little common sense and a little intelligence and a little wisdom to be able to reconcile and balance that. Just because like in food, if somebody says protein is important, then a person says, get me only proteins on my plate. No, that will also not work. We need a proportion, we need a proper balance of roti, sabzi, dal, chawal, salad, all that, whatever it's a. And of course, ISKCON, we have a very different proportions of varieties, continental. But what we need is a wholesome meal. Not just because protein is important does not mean that others are not important. So sometimes a person gets into a trap of, oh, chanting is the Yuga Dharma. This is the most important aspect. No, let me give my life for this. Or I'll chant 64 rounds every day. I'll chant 128 rounds every day. Well, they begin with for sometimes. They begin with sometimes. And eventually they feel I have completed my 16 rounds quota for the entire lifetime. Last 4 months I have been chanting 64. It's done for the lifetime now. Because tendency of conditioned soul is bhog and tyag. So no association. In fact, in the modern time, actually no association means you're associating with dangerous mind. The mind only says, don't associate with them. you will end up committing Vaishnava Aparadha. Stay away. Mind will literally kill us. It corners us and can kill us. Because unless the mind is trained properly. So no association can be very dangerous. Unfortunately, in fact, people, if you see people who are the right time, then I think I need a watch. Hare Krishna. I think I should have had a watch here. Okay. Okay. So it's very dangerous to associate with the mind. And then what to speak of? It's we are not talking about anyone in the young age. You know, Bhagavatam gives the example of Bharat Maharaj, who was in the stage of bhav, penultimate, one before prem, and he chose to be alone. He thought he doesn't need anyone. Even at that stage, that is the importance of. I mean, there is. It doesn't stop. It's not that once you become senior, then you don't need association. In fact, it's needed more. It's needed more for at least one person to tell Prabhu, just give that, or Mataji, whatever, give that a little reminder. And of course, good association. Prabhupada talks about how Narad Muni, as son of a maid servant, how he received uh, the good association of the Bhaktivedantas and how he benefited, getting the remnants of them. I'll not get into the details of that. What it means to associate, in our own practical sense, what does it mean to associate? Because we have to understand what are we, whom, and what are we associating with. People is one category. People is just one category. We associate other than people with food, the input that we receive. That's why our, what is that? I'll not get into details further, the shortage of time. Food we associate with, depending on what. That's why Prabhupada very geniusly made this beautiful arrangement that as far as possible, devotees take prasad. We are saving ourselves a lot by not eating food outside. Because usually, when people eat food, people like to eat food along with people. You see, whether it's a hostel, whether it's a canteen, whether it's a office scenario, people like to. It means you while eating, there is a lot of gossip which will happen. We are saved from a lot of all of these. We associate, one is people, we associate with food, we associate with books. That's also part of our inputs. And then newspapers or magazines, and in case somebody's associating with. And then similarly, one may associate with, uh, in those earlier days, it was like television, uh, which transformed into a laptop, which has taken the recent avatar of mobile, right? And it'll get some additional features of AI to make it more attractive. That's another source of association that we are. It's not just people. It's people, food, books, social media, entertainment. All this is part of association, which has an influence on us, which has a very, very deep influence on us. That's why it is said joining a sangha to build strength, character, and pure habits, which is meant to get out of negative influences. What it means to associate, to build strength, character, and pure habits in terms of trying to get out of the negative influences. Because Kali Yuga negative influences are very default mode. It's like a gravitational force. Default, what happens? Things go down only. Even if you have to maintain, we have to put some strength. What to speak of? That's why Prabhupada said we are like swimming upstream in devotional service, right? And if someone asks in terms of how to choose the spiritual association, also scriptures explain Sajatiya, Snigdha, Swatovare. Sajatiya is compatible, Snigdha is affectionate or loving association, and Swatovara is a little bit superior or something that we can actually receive from, that we are ready to hear, at least have respect for. Sajatiya, Snigdha, and Satovare. And of course, there's a lot Bhagavatam explains. There's so many different verses. Bhagavad Gita explains, gives us references. Machitta, Madgata, Prana, Bodhayanta, Parasparam. Srimad Bhagavatam explains a very beautiful verse. Shortage of time, I'll not get details of that, but just to mention the verse, it is Parasparanu Kathanam, Pavanam Bhagavad Yasha, Mitoratir, Mitotushtir, Nivrittir, Mitha Atmana. When devotees coming together, mainly it is for the in the center of glorification of the Lord. Mithoratir, tushtis. That is, one gets satisfaction, one feels happiness. And Nivrittir, Mitho Atmana. They're all the negative influences. One actually gets encouragement by devotees. Oh, you are able to do this? Let me also try this. Oh, you have given this up? Let me also try this. That is a very need for association of Vaishnavas. Sometimes we are afraid of sharing our difficulties, feeling what will the other person think. But when you share, other person says, Array, you are still better. My situation is worse. Then the first person feels encouraged. And of course, that's not a good sign when both are discouraged. Then they should at least approach somebody who says, yeah, this can be overcome, don't worry. Otherwise, both will say, Hare Krishna. We should also have some good association where one has faith and trust. Any difficulty, it's like we should have trust. Anything under the sun can be answered. May not be by me, but I know somebody who can answer it. I can take you to someone who can answer it. It is better if we also learn. Not that every time we are dependent on somebody else. We should also learn, but we should also have the trust and the confidence that we can. I mean, it's not false ego. It is ego on. It is faith on the scriptures. Scriptures are explaining so beautifully, and here we are to help to understand these things. So, what are the benefits of genuine good association? 4 points. I'll just try to give in short tips. One is strength in numbers. Sanghe Shakti Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, numbers matter a lot. How many of us would like to come to the temple if you are the only person having darshan of the Lord? But when we see so many others are there, we feel not so bad. Okay, no, I'm okay. When you see so many other devotees, it gives inspiration. When we see youngsters dancing in Guru Puja, does it give enthusiasm? Even for those who may not have strength to dance, just by looking, yes or no? So much impact of association, and especially in numbers, it really matters a lot. How many of us can go for book distribution alone? There may be some rare souls, but if you're, when I say numbers, doesn't mean that then if we have 20 people together going for it. Even if it is two, then for that day, that devotee is like you are like so grateful to him. Maybe on other days you may fight with him, but for that day, my table partner, thank you very much. You saved me. And similarly, the other person also thinks the same. If you would have not been there, if I would have been alone in the table, rather than looking at the books, I would have been looking at people around. But because you are there, I'm trying to distribute books. Isn't it? How many of us, if the program is not there, how many of us would like to chill a Sunday morning? Now it's too late. Effect of association. Lot of agyat sukriti we get, but if we do it in good consciousness, we will benefit very swiftly. We will make advancement very swiftly. Big strength in numbers. Second is mutually benefit by receiving and by giving. When we come in association, we receive something. We receive knowledge. We receive mercy, blessings, so many things just by having darshan of the Lord, darshan of the deities, darshan of the devotees, association with the devotees. We receive, and once a person is a little reasonably seasoned and senior, he also wants to give his association. When he say his association or his or her association, it means it's the Lord's association or the Parampara's association via medium as an instrument. But do we benefit when we receive or do we benefit when we give? When we receive, we benefit. When we give, we
Benefit.
lose.
No, we benefit.
When we receive, we benefit. When we give, we benefit more. Dasturi loibo ami purna habe kam. At the end of the task, I will get my commission. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. By giving, we don't lose. By giving, we gain a lot. In fact, by sharing, at least we ensure we are able to retain. If we don't share, we will forget what we have even learnt. We will forget what we have even learnt. It is important to share even to retain what we have learnt. What to speak of benefiting others. So we benefit by receiving in association. We also benefit by giving in association. And very important aspect is that we get an potential opportunity to have a heart to heart exchange. Most of us may not leverage on that, but if we want, there is an opportunity. In fact, Rupa Goswami says that Dadati Pradigranati, the very next verse of this, Dadati Pradigranati, Guhyam Akhyati Prachati, right? Which is heart to heart transformation, heart to heart exchange. Otherwise, people have to end up going to a psychiatrist. So much problems. But if we have within the devotee association, and what we need to do for that, have relationships in which people have trust in us. The fear that people have in heart to heart is next day it will be published in the newspaper, which is why people are afraid of heart to heart. It doesn't remain within the heart. The heart the network gets transferred very soon. If we develop that trustworthy relationship, if devotees are able to get trust, if we are able to, when we say trust, we have to earn the trust. We have to earn the trust for a person to be able to feel comfortable to open his heart. It is a great service. Just like we need it, others also need it. And if we earn the trust, we can, and of course, whatever is required to be equipped for that, if we are able to do that, it's a great service. Otherwise, so many things just remain within the mind and everybody's confused what to do. We may behave like devotees, but there is so much difficulties and so much obstacles which we are going through, and we feel, whom can I share with? Where should I go? How do I get answers to this? So it's very essential that here is an opportunity where we can potentially leverage on in terms of heart to heart exchanges. And most important is in devotee association, the benefit that one can get is actually it is meant to remind us of Krishna. As soon as we see a devotee, Mahaprabhu gave three different versions, three different definitions for that. Who is a devotee? So like that, as soon as we in devotee association remind us of Krishna and uplift our consciousness. It's like when we visit the temple and when we leave, we should feel, wow, battery is charged 90%. We should feel surcharged, not not discharged. After coming to the temple, drained out. When we're coming to the temple and leaving, we should feel surcharged. It's uplifting association. I wanted to end with practical tips for survival in association. I'll try to be as quick as possible. 8 points, practical tips for survival. How many of us want to survive in devotee association? There's no compulsion to raise hands, but how many of you really genuinely feel? Is it difficult to survive in association? That's what we are hankering for. But within association, there are little bit sometimes challenges. How do we survive in devotee association? Some practical tips. I'll run through it quick in terms of. Is that okay? If I can just finish. So for survival, first and foremost, be aware and acknowledge that we are dependent on association. We are not coming to the temple to give our darshan or our attendance. I came last Sunday. We are we have to be aware and acknowledge we are dependent on association. We can honestly ask ourselves, if I am alone, what would I be doing? If I am not here in the temple atmosphere, what would I be doing? How much are we avyartha kalatvam, minute to minute we are extremely utilizing it, or how much we, or at the end of the day we realize, hey, 8 rounds are still remaining. What is our condition? That's why Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says association of devotees is like the crutches. He was 90 years old. He says walking stick. For an old man, the walking stick is not optional. He is dependent on that. We have to be aware and acknowledge that we are dependent on the devotee association. Not that I don't need them. It's okay. I can now. I'm practicing 16 now. It's fine. I'm initiated also. It's okay. We are dependent on the association of devotees. If we at least accept and acknowledge, we'll benefit a lot. Second, we have to be a little sensitive. Take the words in reasonable understanding, not just a face value. Choose even within association. Now we are not talking about materially world-minded and impersonalists and Mayavadis. Choose within devotee association also. What does that mean? Prabhuji, we are supposed to associate. Choose within devotee association means we can avoid those who are loose talkers, somebody who constantly criticizes, somebody who always finds faults. If it is intelligence, we want to discriminate and stay away. For those who are time wasters, different categories. But the worst is critical. Somebody who is very critical, somebody who always finds faults, always criticizes. What happens when we hear somebody criticizing devotees? We also get influenced. We also get vulnerable. So we have to understand how stable is my devotional service to be able to handle all this. If we are a garbage can, we can handle a lot of garbage, isn't it? To handle garbage, what we need to become? We have to ask ourselves, do I have the strength to handle all that? And if not, it's very safe to avoid saying, Prabhu or Mataji, you may be advanced, you can speak criticisms and still be making progress in devotional service. But I think I am a little vulnerable to it. And of course, there is really etiquette to talk not in a very gross way, but avoid those who are very critical and fault finding. And at the same time, associate with those who uplift your consciousness, associate with those who inspire, associate with those, even those who correct us out of concern. Sometimes when somebody corrects us or gives us a feedback, we feel that is the last darshan I'm having. You gave me feedback. I will never see you from the front. Somebody corrects us out of concern, we can be we can choose to associate. Somebody is concerned out of concern, somebody is trying to help us, uplift us. Third is, as as we progress a little bit, it is important that we also share Krishna consciousness. We also preach Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if we just only receive, it's like, somebody only eats. People who just watch a movie, sometimes they don't need to eat food, but since they are just watching, whatever goes in, they're not worried what is the impact of it. It's like couch potatoes, they're called sometimes. It's just eating, just watching. So as we progress, it's important that what so much that we have received in Krishna consciousness, it's important that we should share that. Who benefits if we share? If there is an audience, they will also benefit. If we That's why Prabhupada would say, attack is the best defense. Sometimes we are very protective, we are worried about our devotional service. No, I should somehow survive. We are talking about practical tips for survival, right? If you are worried about survival, attack is the best form of defense. If you preach, there is at least one person who benefits. If audience benefits or not, if audience is present or not, but one person survives, which is the speaker, if our ears are at least open. And in order to speak, usually we are trying to hear that. So preaching will benefit even in terms of survival in Krishna consciousness. Many times we feel we are the gift of ISKCON. We are here to deliver and share our compassion. Preaching means we are, for conditioned souls, it is we are surviving in Krishna consciousness. For great souls like Srila Prabhupada, they are traveling out of compassion. For most of us, we have come all the way from Pune to get association only. This is for survival. So this is preaching. Fourth is recharge our batteries. This is practical tip for survival. Sometimes we feel that we have received so much, next Bhagavatam class, is there any new thing that I'm going to hear? Or sometimes we may ask, who is the speaker? Depending on the speaker, I will make my schedule. I'll prioritize. Anybody who's a speaker who is sitting here usually will speak as per the norms of Bhagavatam. Will we benefit from that? The same thing if we hear online. I don't know whether you have it online. It's there. The same thing if you are online versus sitting here. How many of you feel there is a difference in hearing online and physical? Positive difference? When we are sitting in the midst of other devotees, Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Ritkarna Rasayana Katha Tad Joshanad Ashu Apavarga Vartamani Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishyati. I don't think this applies for online. Kapila Muni mentioned Satam Prasangam. In the Association of Vaishnavas, where we have darshan of beautiful Shri Radha Vinod, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, Gaur Nitai, Shri Prabhupada, with wonderful devotee association. The whole focus is, hopefully we are not focusing on the mobile, and it's like we are focused on hearing. And that is a very, very purifying atmosphere. That's where even the Lord feels attracted to hear his own katha. That is the power of Krishna katha. So we have to recharge our batteries. And everybody knows battery capacities are different for different people. Somebody has still that old 1000 mAh, and somebody may have latest 6000, 7000 mAh and all that, right? Depending on our capacity, we have to, we should feel that I need to recharge. What we feel, last month I went one Sunday, last month 2 Sundays I went. We have to ask ourselves, what is the question we have to ask? How soon do I get discharged? And how do we understand we are discharged? People around us can tell. You don't have to tell. People around us will get irritated. And when we are enthusiastic, people around us will tell, Prabhuji, what is the secret of your energy? Or, Prasad ne kya khaya aapne? And if you are disturbed, all that will reflect. So when we keep ourselves enthused and and charged, we ourselves will feel that, and people around us will be able to feel the benefit of it. Now, very important, three don'ts. This is very practical. Avoid overly criticizing ISKCON management. Avoid overly criticizing ISKCON management. Because initially, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we are like awed at the management done by ISKCON. When we see a Janmashtami celebration, we see thousands of devotees coming. So, wow, what an arrangement! So many devotees are being fed prasadam. There is a line for darshan. People are coming in queue for darshan. So many things are happening. There are stalls. Somebody is preaching. Somebody is having a quiz corner. Somebody is distributing prasadam. So many things are arranged. When we become devotees, after some years, we feel, why this stall is here? Why my stall is not here? We get into all that. And then it's extremely easy to criticize management. Extremely easy. Because in Kali Yuga, it's a challenge. I can tell you, you can, I can tell you, even MBAs and IITs and IASs will have a great challenge in managing ISKCON centers. It deserves a round of applause. Because we are not dealing simply with things, we are dealing with people, and the people are not ordinary. They think they are extraordinary, and devotees are extremely sensitive. So it's a great challenge. Please, we have to remind ourselves, even Brahma was not spared. Gopis criticized Brahma. What kind of eyelids you have made? It doesn't allow us to take darshan properly of Krishna. If Brahma was not spared, a personality who has four heads, whose body is made of intelligence, I think whatever we are able to do, please accept the services. Of course, there is a discussion acceptable. All we are trying to talk about is do not become overly critical, because generally we expect an ideal situation. It should happen like this. Why it is not happening like this? I already gave the suggestion, still it is not happening. I knew, I forecasted, I had a vision. So people who feel they have a vision, when they get into the seat, no, their vision, you get a cataract. It's like politics. People who are not in the seat, they talk a lot about principles. Once they get the chair, it's a great challenge. Then you talk about principles, and especially management in this. I'm just trying to explain it's not an easy task. Definitely, there is scope for improvement, but there is a proper channel and proper way to do that in a Vaishnava way to deal with that. We understand there is lacuna, and with the given infrastructure, there are limitations of that also, right? We are not living. All the temples are in Vaikuntha, but still there are limitations in terms of what is practical, what is feasible within the limited space available, resources available, what best we can do. And still whatever we do, there'll always be scope for improvement. So please don't misunderstand this or stretch this. All I'm trying to say is avoid overly criticizing ISKCON management, because it's a commendable job, a big task, not easy to deal with. People itself, it's difficult, and to deal with devotees, you have to be blessed. Another important thing, another very, very important thing, do not get easily affected or disturbed by devotee association. Do not get easily affected, matlab overly affected. This devotee did not smile at me, or that devotee, I don't know why he smiled at me. And this devotee spoke like this, I am not going to come to the temple. You see how silly our reasons can be to stop doing devotional service. It's one thing to say I am sick, I am not able to come. That's maybe genuine, maybe our capacity and all that. But this devotee told me like this, I don't want to associate with anyone. That's why Prabhupada gave us so much association. He knew we can't have good chemistry with all. We may have bad chemistry with some. Does that stop us from associating with a larger mass of devotees? And are we practicing devotional service for their benefit or for our own self? So we can easily get swayed away, because here is where the mind plays tricks. I mean, in the interest of time, not elaborating too much, but the mind can give various reasons why I need to stay away from this association. But we have to understand that it is the same association which is like the crutches. I have to know how to deal with it. And in case I'm not able to get along with some, at least I should know how to leverage on the association by which I can get uplifted, rather than becoming overly affected and ending up stopping our devotional service. It's like when you're playing kabaddi, when you're trying to make the other person out, going to the other camp. Once we know that our breathing is now, I have to return. I need to take shelter again. It is the very same people, and here for silly things, small things. we feel, no, I'll not chant my rounds. Why? Because this devotee told like this to me. Or what he, sometimes people are disturbed with, not with that they have done something wrong. Sometimes they are disturbed with the way it was dealt. I know I am wrong, but how I was told. I also have some how I was told, and then it can definitely become very sensitive. So at least avoid a little becoming. Do not get easily offended. Do not become easily offended. And seventh is, which is very well known for most of us. Not elaborate too much, but uh, essential and very important is, of course, beware of Vaishnava Aparadh. The earlier we spoke about is do not get easily offended. First of all, we should not think that we are Vaishnavas, that others are making aparadh towards us. But we get overly cynical about, some small things, and we feel, no, I don't want to come to devotional service. I don't want to come to the temple. But seventh is very critical, very important. Beware of Vaishnava aparadh. Then there are different forms of different varieties of aparadh. Seva aparadh, you know, dham aparadh, and so many other things. But we are talking about Vaishnava aparadh. We should learn some etiquettes while dealing with the devotees. What is appropriate behavior? And finally, that especially for those who are progressing, especially in the leadership positions, like it is described, it's like the apex of the pyramid. The usually at leadership level, it's quite lonely at the top, which is why even at the leadership level, one should seek out for good association. One should seek out for equal association. What scriptures talk about as seniors or superiors, equals, and juniors, it is not only at one phase of life. It is supposed to be in all phases of life, and the proportion may change as per our phase, as per our need. In the initial phase, we need more superior association to know guidance, instructions. At a later phase, one may need more junior association in terms of giving association, compassion, concerns. After that, one understands actually what I need is equal association to survive in devotee association. So all three are required. The proportion may change depending on the phases and our needs. Just conclude with a beautiful prayer from Parikshit Maharaj. He says, Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante. He says, Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante rati prasangat tat chatad ashrayeshu. This Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante rati prasanga chatad ashrayeshu. Mahatsuyam yam upayami srishtim maitriyastu sarvatra namo dvijebhya. This is Parikshit Maharaj when he is sitting on the banks of Ganges, about to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, when he is about to fast until death, like that, 7 days period. And this is time when he is saying, I offer my obeisances to all Namo Dvijebhya, all the Brahmanas who are assembled here, all the sages who have assembled here. He says, Mahatsu yam yam upayam srishtim. If at all I have to take birth again, Mahatsu yam yam upayam srishtim. If at all I have to take birth again in this material world, what do I ask for? He says three things. Bhagavati Anante Rati. Let me have attraction towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unlimited, who showers unlimited mercy, who is unlimited in his own natures. Let me have attraction towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Second, Rati. After the Rati, he says Prasangas ta cha tad ashrayeshu. What a beautiful way of describing devotee. He says Prasangat tad prasangascha tad ashrayeshu. He is defining devotee as one who has taken shelter of the Lord. He is a devotee. One who has taken shelter of the Lord. And he says, I am aspiring for their association. And third, he says, Maitriyastu Sarvatra. Let me have friendly relations amongst all the living beings in the entire world. It's like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Just even at the time of passing away, this is the prayer he's making. If at all I have to come again in this material world, let me have attraction to the Supreme Lord. Let me have association of devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord. And let me have friendly relations with all in this material world. Thank you very much. Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Extremely sorry for whatever extra time we have gone through. Hare Krishna. Now you can decide in terms of time, whatever is there. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. The point with whom we should associate, the first point was those who are compatible. Maybe you could just throw some light on that. It might be a big discussion, but then at least how do we understand, or what should we look at that this devotee is compatible with when I can associate?
Typically, just like we make friendships with whom we get closely associated with, and over a period of time, with a little bit of experience, we do understand. It looks good if I continue this association. And sometimes we get a signal. I think I need to refrain from this association. So primarily, again, we are reminding. Primarily, it is centered around Krishna consciousness. Even the friendship is supposed to be centered around Krishna consciousness. It's like, and the services, everything that we do together. Along with that, even in association, isn't it that when we come to the temple, we do respect all, we do love all, but when it comes to association, we have certain group, which is, I'm not trying to talk about a groupism, but just some inclination that we are inclined towards some people whom we feel uplifts our association, whom we feel uplifts our consciousness. At the same time, because we are talking about devotee association, we have to be very sensitive. We should not offend others. We should not disturb others. But what I need to do the needful. It's like, if this is my input, if this is my rice, dal, sabji, chapati, then I need to be conscious how I am ready to distribute prasadam, but I also need my plate of prasadam. And I think most of us, once our plate is ready, then we are happy to distribute. Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's true.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much for a very nice class. Prabhuji, you mentioned this Satam from Kapila Muni. Could you please elaborate a little bit, Prabhuji?
You'll find that Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.25. Kapila Muni's prayers, Satam Prasanga, Mama Virya Samvida, that devotees, when they come together in association, what is the benefits that they get? Mama Virya, what do they do? Mama Virya Samvida. They actually discuss the glories of the Lord. And what is the impact? Bhavanti Karana Rasayana Katha. It's a very relishable topics of Krishna consciousness. And what happens? Shraddha, Ratir, Bhaktir. What happens immediately? One gets Shraddha, Rati, attraction for the Lord, and Bhakti. Very soon it follows. If we discuss Krishna Katha in association of Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks for a wonderful class. One point on the trust. So, like as we practicing for quite a few years, sometimes how we deal with the trust. So how we deal with the devotees. Sometimes you may have some experiences. Then that's basically now that brings to the next step of the relationships only Haribol. So you don't want to again repeat the same thing. So how do we overcome the experiences we have in developing trust? But I'm sure whom we deal with, sometimes trust might have affected. So can you help us?
When trust is affected, it's a very usually it's something like a broken pot. Usually it's difficult to repair. unless there is sometimes a proper devotee association which is required for sort of sometimes sorting out, or sometimes we may have to get external professional help to do the needful. In general, if we are handling it on our own, we should be equipped enough to do that. It's like when we are sick, we go to a doctor. We don't, we may have a choice, devotee doctor or a non-devotee doctor. What we have to choose is we are sick and whatever it requires, do the needful. So, in general, trust is a very high caliber of values. So, first and foremost is it requires confidentiality. That once it comes, once I have heard it, it remains. If somebody has told something to us, and if he hears it from another person, next time he will never tell us because he knows it has already leaked. But he tells us, and he doesn't find that it is forwarded further. Then he develops trust. If we maintain confidentiality, that's a very important fact. That because ultimately what they want is don't tell anyone else, or at the same time do the needful in terms of helping. In the sense, then we can take superior help. See, when we are talking about conditionings or seeking help and all that, typically it is when we are seeking help, even if the superior is aware of it, it's not a breach of trust. It's a constructive way to help. Somebody is aware of it, but if you make a propaganda of it, that is not recommended. But somebody is aware to give a treatment. When you go to the doctor, you can't say, I don't trust you. He asks, what did you eat? No, but if I tell you, you will inform everybody else. To the doctor, you have to open, reveal our heart. So then only he can diagnose. And the doctor is really not bothered what you have eaten, because he has to diagnose to give the medicine. His focus is on the medicine. What medicine I have to give him? He is not bothered to propagate what you have eaten to the other people. That's important. So that's how a superior is supposed to act. Rather than propagating what the person has done, we have to see what I have to do to uplift the person. And first and foremost is confidentiality. And next important point is how do I after the diagnosis, how do I deal with that in such a way that the person feels uplifted? You see, Krishna, when he is dealing with Indra, the Govardhan Leela, his pride was crushed, literally smashed and crushed. But he did it in a very, you can say, a very sober way. Or like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dealing with Keshav Kashmiri. The boys who were with Nimai Pandit, they started laughing at Keshav Kashmiri. But Lord Chaitanya said, don't laugh. He's a Digvijay Pandit. You are kindergarten children. See, it's like we have to understand, if I am a fourth standard first ranker, I don't have any adhikar to laugh at a PhD who has failed. Simple. I am a first ranker, but in fourth standard. That person has at least failed in PhD. We have to understand the adhikar. But trust is a very, very noble value to cultivate, to develop. For that, confidentiality, we have to ensure that it is not leaked, and whatever best we can do to uplift. Rather than, there is no point in expanding criticism further, but there is a lot of greatness in helping people, helping devotees. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji and Mataji, Shankar Pandit Prabhu and Yugal Pre Mataji need no introduction, but just a quick one, a brief one. Prabhuji and Mataji are from Pune and very much connected to services in NVCC. Now, Prabhuji and Mataji also have, deep, as you heard the class, so deep study in the scriptures, and also they share the wonderful realizations over the past, which gets complemented by the services that they have done. Services like counseling. They are counselors for almost multiple families, many families in Bangalore also, and Pune, and a couple of other parts of India also. So, and also they're involved in the matrimonials also. Prabhuji is very much involved in the management in NVCC from a kitchen perspective and crowd control perspective. Just to give a glimpse, footfall during festivals in NVCC is around more than 6,000 plus. So you can imagine the amount of crowd control and management decisions that are needed. And we were also, me and my family were also fortunate to be in there, groomed by them in the care and shelter right from the early days when we came into Bangalore. So let us all express our deep, heartfelt gratitude by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I request devotees to wait for there are a few more announcements that I have to do. So today we don't have any. So we have one sponsor. Likita Mataji is here. Likita Mataji. Likita. So Mataji has sponsored on the occasion of daughter-in-law's birthday. That is Likita Mataji, and Mataji is seeking prayers for her from this August assembly. So let's all once chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We all, I don't know how many of you know Ganesh Prabhu. We have seen Ganesh Prabhu, who is part of the admin department here. Ganesh Prabhu had to undergo an angioplasty just day before, I think 1 or 2 days back. So he's on the path of recovery. Let us all pray for a speedy recovery, and let us all pray once for Prabhuji's fast recovery. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Balaji Govind Prabhu has also requested prayers for Sanjana Mataji, who's niece of Balaji Govind Prabhu. We all know Balaji Govind Prabhu. Niece of Sanjana Mataji. She had a surgery last week for fibroids. Though the surgery was successful, but they have sent for the biopsy test. Results are awaited, and Prabhuji and his family are requesting prayers from this assembly here, so that somehow the arrangement should be there, that there are no traces of any malignancy. So kindly let us all once chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have Shiksha ceremony today, starting at 4:30 p.m. All those leaders who have their who are representing all those devotees who are going to participate in the Shiksha, please ensure they have submitted all the booklets and the papers, and please be available at least by 4 or 4:15. So 4:30 the Shiksha ceremony will be starting, and we will have a wonderful association of Her Grace Janava Sundari Mataji, January 12th, that's tomorrow, Monday, from 9:30 a.m. 9:30 to 12:30. It's in the ICC temple. This is for Sharanya. So Matajis are requested to take benefit of this association by Her Grace Janavi Sundari Mataji, Monday. The topic is understanding anarthas through the chakra system. So all the Matajis are requested to participate Monday from 9:30 to 12:30. And on Tuesday, Mataji is going to speak on awakening inner potential. This is also a chakra-based workshop to recognize and release inner blockages. The topic is Awakening Inner Potential by Her Grace Janavi Sundari Mataji on January 13th, that is Tuesday, from 6 to 9 p.m. Devotees, these flyers are submitted, are being posted in the group. So please register yourself so that the appropriate arrangements can be made. So please take benefit of this. So Awakening Inner Potential, it's a chakra-based workshop. And lastly, if once you go outside, while you're going outside, you see there is a self-help book on Japa by His Grace Mahatma Prabhu. Have a look at it, and those who want, they can purchase it also. Hare Krishna. We all go downstairs for Ashtakams.